Hey, got more tech. I discovered more. First things first, we got more combo optimizations. There's a lot of minor optimizations where you can like technically do a route that didn't exist before that does like maybe 10 more damage if you spend an extra bar that didn't exist before, but I'm not going to mention all those. I'm going to mention what I think the two most practical ones. One is your like mid-screen post-stun combo. There we go. That's new damage. That's good damage. It's good shit. Now in the corner, anytime you set up like your V skill and stuff like that, it was always anytime you do any route to put it down, you know, there's always like not a huge difference in the amount of damage output. Like you might as well just, it's kind of equivalent, you know, like if you have a route that involves this, your optimization would just be something like, oh, just do the regular hit into, you know, just catapult into like whatever, into your normal route that you borderline could have already gotten. But now you have like a shimmy route slash a meaty route that actually is a, you know, worth something. So if you have the this one up, there we go, 400 for 2 bars off of a stand medium punch. For context sake, and if you do a shimmy, like if it's not off of a stand medium, so that's the just meaty version. If you do the shimmy version, something like whatever, you know, whatever. So now your damage output for that has gone up, but most importantly, if your shimmy damage output, unless you were completely precise with your spacing of getting your crouch heavy punch so that it's +8 right there so you can get the medium kick afterwards, usually your shimmy damage was not that high, but now it's the highest. It's buckets for 2 bars. Damn it. $400 damage and 630 stun for a shimmy for 2 bars. With the V skill up, obviously. So, well over halfway to stun. It's pretty good. Next, there's a new thing. So, we already talked about how you can do this late cancel thing or whatever, and you can use it to get anti-airs and confirm and land that manually and all that kind of stuff. But with, V skill 2, so let's say like a normal hit is like a do. So that's 213 meterless, and then $383. So 213 meterless, 383 with super. So that's 244 meterless, and I think 400, 414 with super. So if you have, and you can do this with any conversion, you can have like any, including in the corner, if you have like your V skill set up, you can do any route. Late cancel so that the V trigger activation and it triggers the V skill so they float, and you can combo after the VT2 activation for slightly more meterless damage in most cases. And this includes when you do it off of an anti-air. You can get these conversions if you have your V skill out with your anti-airs. Another thing that I think is very, very effective is, I think, crouching medium kick. I kind of underestimated how good it is now with V trigger 1. The ease at which you can get. So I did not realize that you can do this target combo, which is an automatic frame trap, by the way. Not only can you space it out to be awkward to punish for a lot of characters, even though it is -14, but you can always frame trap it immediately. I think I did talk about this already, but I kind of neglected to realize its functional value as much. Because this hit into the target combo is pretty delayable and hit confirmable. This hit as well you can do a true block string if you cancel it immediately, but if you delay cancel it, you can create a frame trap off of that too, which helps due to this being a vastly superior move than most of our other stuff because it whiffs for much shorter. It's 7 frames rather than 8 frames. So your ability to get that and be a pretty reasonable hit confirm, honestly, as well as having the option to create a frame trap with an instant knockdown with the follow-up that is +4 on block and always gives you great Oki on hit is pretty good. Okay, now what I've been trying to experiment a lot with is controlling screen space with the V-Skill 2, you know, because she's got so much great crap to do with V-Skill 2, so many abusable things, but you just don't get the opportunity to use it that often. Like, so much untapped potential because of how difficult it is to get it out in neutral and to get it in the right position. You know, like, enemies can just kind of avoid it really easily. It's hard to pin people down, so yeah, I've been trying to figure out how to more tightly control people, and I think that there's a certain angle. I don't know if I talked about this in videos or not, but I kind of think that the most effective way to play with the V-Skill 2 is to play right around the range at which you can just trigger all of the attacks, like, immediately. You know, just to use it as like a slight extension of your own normals rather than play really far back here where you can't control it as well, because then you can just like kind of walk them down a bit more threateningly and have that opportunity, especially if it's right here. You have a 4-frame, incredibly far-reaching active attack that you can abuse. But yeah, I think that with the EX shot, first of all, you can anti-air in certain circumstances if you see that they've jumped over this by immediately triggering into it. Actually, mainly because you have a bit longer to cancel it if you do the standing version, so I would do it like that. So if you recognize, and there's a very narrow window because you can't cancel it for very long, but it is -6 if they fall and block it, so. But you can cancel it if you have V-Trigger 1 activation, and there's a variety of weird gimmicky stuff you can do if you have V-Trigger 2 on. But yeah, it is, you can save yourself a lot of grief, which allows you to pester more with this in the neutral, the Kugel, the standing gunshot, due to that element of safety, especially on whiff. If it whiffs, it's more difficult for enemies to reliably whiff punish since you can cancel it into this follow-up. But yeah, with this kind of overarching screen control, if they jump over this, it'll catch them for trying to get the jump on. If you trade, you'll get a conversion off of the orb hit. Depending on its spacing, like I said, if you do it at this range, you can't neutral jump it either. At this spacing, if it connects on here, it's +25, so I should mention that first, actually. So when the V-Skill 1 is on the opponent like this, if it detonates like that here, it's the amount of plus frames that you get is kind of variable depending on when the shot connects with the character, basically. So the further back it is, you can get some extra plus frames off of it, like, I don't know, it's kind of weird and inconsistent. If it's slightly in front of them or slightly behind them, you can be more plus. The unfortunate part of this is that you have to commit to doing this, because you can't anti-air them on reaction with this, because the cancel window isn't far enough. You have to just automatically commit to it on an assumption. And if they're not in range for it to... But yeah, if the mine is on them, if it's on their personhood at the moment, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of... It's not as good as I would like it to be, if I'm being honest. But that's what I've been trying to work with. Try to figure out ways of locking people down in neutral so that they have to respect the mine. But if they do respect the mine, there's a couple of things you can do with this. A couple new mine shits you can do. You can get full screen combos like that. By the way, in most routes, if you're in like the corner or something, this does extra stun damage. Doing the crouch shot into either of the follow-ups does 240 stun, which means that any situation where you can land that allows you to get for higher stun routes for an extra bar. There's another aspect of the EX shot that's interesting, and that's that if you do something like this, like the further the mine is behind their back, the more plus you can be. So normally if I do this, that's not plus enough to get a catapult after that. After a dash up into... Oh, it is. Well. Whatever. But you can be more plus if you, if they have more travel time to get to the mine. So the further away the mine is behind their back, because the EX shot sends them flying so far backwards. If it detonates the mine... There's a sweet spot where you can be extra plus, and in very highly specific rare circumstances you can get goofy stuff. But haven't totally figured out how to make use of that yet. Anyways, another thing is the V-shift. So this all of Falke's moves are pretty bad to V-shift. Kugel especially. Most characters in the cast, a lot of characters can just V-shift a lot of her main Kugel cancel points and just punish her outright. But the great thing is that you can, anytime you see the V-shift, you can respond super late and just cancel into an EX and cover most of their opto. They can obviously still do the V-break to punish you, and unfortunately I've tested it and I can't find any way to time it or option select it in any way to avoid spending the bar if they do the V-break. So you're gonna spend a bar if you want to keep it safe, but yeah, you can use this to avoid them getting their more optimal real punishes on this move. And yeah, that's most of what I've been cooking up. That's most of what I got right now.